AM, like all my old teams, like competitive history, it's terrible. And he's like, I think it's hilarious. I laugh it off and like enjoy the fact that I get trash talk because he's like, I know how good I am. Like, I know what I can do for this team.
Well,
and it's just kind of funny.
Who is he getting flamed by? Is he talking about the community, or is he getting flamed by like KFO and Froggen?
No, I was going for he's like Reddit and Twitter more so than his teammates telling him he's bad. I would hope not.
Yeah. It's when your team loses faith in you that you really have to worry about that.
Echo Fox actually, though the roster did come together sort of fairly late in the year, they had multiple support options, and they chose Big because of his attitude, because of his ability to grow and just the way he acts with the players and in-game and whatnot. So that's been a good choice. This is a 4-1 roster with a lot of rookies. Gotta say, it's kind of nice for Echo Fox.
Yeah, I'm looking at the picks and bans. We haven't seen Fiora banned until now. It's been banned all day. But I was thinking that maybe it would fall through the ban phase. Here, there is still stuff like Gangplank and Lulu available, so one of those will fall through. Not even talking about Alistar yet.
I want to see if TIP can take one of their top laner from KFO as well, because the Malphite first spin makes total sense. He was very good on that champion before, and then of course Nautilus was the other thing he'd been having so much good success on in this top lane. KFO playing tanks all the time. TIP instead say it's more important that we take the Corki away from Froggen, but there are still elements of this composition that can work here for Fox. That was not intentional.
I believe you. Kicking Corki away, I think, is quite important in this draft phase, so we'll get to see what Froggen has up his sleeve. Dyrus and Kobe were talking on the analyst desk before. It's not like Froggen has a shallow champion pool by any means. He has been playing probably more games than anyone else in the LCS since the game was made, so he has experience on all champions, for sure.
He's got to be one of the record leaders in terms of like number of professional games played, number of games played in World Championships, etc. We'll see now what's next. Lucian picked up here for Keith. The Alistar is in for Big. He'll feel great about that champion. Alistar basically never escapes pick and ban.
Yeah.
And yet again, there he is. And picked up in the support role. Now for Impulse to make their choices. That Corki is a flex, so is Lulu. They're hovering. But Procxin playing Elise could be the pick of the litter here in the jungle, with Nidalee off the table and Hard playing that champion last time. I wouldn't be surprised to see it be a steal, and it is.
Yep, love those choices from Team Impulse. Actually like the first 3 choices they've had in this draft. Just because the versatility, Corki goes mid or bottom, Lulu goes bottom, mid, or top. So really there is no way that Echo Fox can start planning the counter picks for their lane because Team Impulse has the proper flex picking choices. I would hope, though, that's a Corki mid, Lulu top, and then they get Mash on an auto-attack focused AD carry like Caitlyn or something, but we shall see.
Caitlyn would have been my thought. They definitely need some physical damage on this lineup, and honestly, Feng has not been a player that's brought a lot of damage here. So we'll see what that roster ends up being here. 23 seconds ago for Echo Fox to make their next few choices, I should say. And I'm curious what they will save for last. With all these flex picks, they have to show at least one of their solo lanes here. I don't expect you to show both.
Yeah, they're going to wait until Team Impulse finishes their team composition, I hope, before they take Froggen's pick. But at the same time, there's Kayle. So they can just throw that Kayle up in the top lane. If KFL thinks that's a good matchup against the Lulu.
Yep. So
Kayle
is...
Big smiles on KFO's face.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, back in 2015, KFO was known a little bit as a Kayle one-trick. And though Froggen has played it in competitive play before, it's like KFO's 3rd most played in solo queue this season, and I haven't seen it from Froggen at all.
Yeah, and it's got a 78% win rate on KFO's solo queue accounts. We were joking yesterday when we were looking it up. It was like, it's one of those picks that you recognize as good, and you're like, maybe I shouldn't spam this. Like, maybe I should just stop playing some games. So we just spam some other champions. Oh, let's get Lysandra up there into the top 3 play. But Kayle is the 3rd most played with a 78% win rate in Challenger for KFO.
All right, we'll see how well it goes here in this one. You've got a very hard-to-kill team. Gragas, Alistar, and a Kayle ultimate to keep people alive. And Echo Fox will indeed likely save their mid lane pick for last. If that isn't a Froggen Kayle, last two picks come through for Impulse. And yes, they get Poppy in the top lane. So the only physical damage is Feng, who's been having, honestly, a pretty weak season with a Braum to keep this kind of meager backline alive.
That is the flexibility of being able to swap around like that. But it definitely isn't what we had pegged as the optimal position for those flex picks. At the same time, though, Kayle doesn't want to build a lot of magic resist. I don't think they're going to be punished early on in the game for not having the proper spread of damage here. It's not like they have a champion with Malphite who really wants to stack resistances yet. And now we will know if it's for sure KFO on the top lane is Kayle, and what Froggen wants to play about against what he can assume to be Lulu.
Yeah. I'm going to say Galio. Makes a lot of sense to stack some MR and be the other version of Malphite. But no, Gangplank was left up for the last pick. And even though Gangplank into range can be a tough matchup because someone like Lulu or Corki can kill off barrels, he is going to go for this champion here. So Froggen bringing out, I believe, his first Gangplank of the season here.
It is.
Froggen, you know, he has been known for wanting to farm forever into long games. Of course, he's been happy to be very aggressive as well, but Gangplank certainly, I feel like, should suit Froggen very well.
Oh my goodness, and this is a team composition where Echo Fox can just play the laning phase as long as possible. It'll be on Team Impulse to push the tempo here because a 5-6 item Kayle and a 5-6 item Gangplank and a 5 or 6 item Lucian will all outscale their counterparts significantly. So the late game, if the gold is close or comparable, heavily in favor of Echo Fox. And they just played a 58-minute game against Team Liquid yesterday, so they have no problem trying to extend this laning phase. Once again, I really love Cops drafting.
Yeah. I think it's a super sweet team composition, and the thing is, we'll see if they can get out of that early game, of course. You mentioned the fact that they all outscale, so then the laning phase is important for Impulse, and who's going to know Kayle versus Poppy better than the Kayle player in the matchup? So it's going to be an interesting one to watch to see if these matchups can be won at all. And as the coaches shake hands and walk off stage, it's time to see who's going to win this one. You guys at home, let us know. Tweet at LOL Esports, use hashtag TIPWin or hashtag FOXWin to send in your vote for who it's going to be. These teams are tied at 7th place. This win gets you out of that relegation zone. If it's an Echo Fox win, they are 2-0 in the head-to-head, further insulating themselves from the bottom of the standings. And in fact, either team winning here gets up to 5 wins, which would tie them with Liquid, provided that Liquid loses the next game here against Immortal. So that would be an incredible thing to watch for. We'll see if they can do it. Here we go.
Yeah, and like you say, these teams are tied in the standings, but I would definitely say they are trending in much different directions.
Yes.
And they have much different records when they have their intended lineups. Remember, 3 of Team Impulse's 4 wins this year came with Seraph subbing in the top lane. Yet, when you look at Echo Fox, pretty much all of their wins have come with Froggen and KFO in the lineup.
Literally all of the Echo Fox
all of
wins.
their wins have been with Froggen and KFO in the lineup.
Yeah. Actually, and Gate actually managed to win a top lane game as well. So it's 2 Seraph, 1 Gate. Impulse actually, Gate is as winning as Feng is as a top laner here on this roster.
Technically, with KFO and Froggen, Echo Fox is 4-1.
Yes. And they've beaten some good teams, of course. We'll see if these tests continue. KFO cannot click on the trigger, but now, ooh, nearly gets stunned against the wall. That was close. But he's going to walk back in. Whoa! KFO did not realize. Barrel into Cocoon, into everything. The flash doesn't come in time. First Blood comes through. Huge misstep by KFO, and First Blood goes to Impulse.
Yeah, he didn't have vision in the tri-brush, and for whatever reason, he probably thought Feng was just toying with him, the normal kind of top lane posturing. But the rest of the team was missing, and KFO needs to give respect to that. Once he finally did realize it was Cocoon and Braum stun, which were actually overlapped, but it didn't give him enough time, and he had to flash away. Just taking a look at this First Blood again. He was hoping to kill the ward. Here, remember, he just sees Feng, and he's been pushed out of the brush, so he doesn't see these guys until now. And he's like, well, I've made a huge mistake.
Yeah.
I should never have tried to return damage.
I think he meant to put a Trinket Ward in that tri-brush, which is why he walked that way. He just didn't do it in time the first time around, so turning back, It now does mean that Procxin had to start Cocoon. That is not an ideal jungle start, but he's getting some double jungle with Feng, getting that first camp leashed. Procxin will have the Gromp buff as well for some damage, and it really shouldn't be all that bad.
Yeah, it'll be really slow, Procxin taking this camp without Q. He does skill up his volatile Spiderling, but it'll be a while until he actually clears through his jungle. Even with that being said, though, having Mash's ability to start with a longsword in the lane, especially now that we're heading into standard lanes, so the gold difference will matter, and having KFO without flash as a Kayle who's actually a relatively vulnerable champion to ganks.
Which way the lane goes is very important. If Kayle pushes it out, it's very easy for Procxin to get behind KFO on this Elise and just pick him right back off. So definitely some danger here. Froggen and Pirean doing battle in the mid lane as well. That's definitely a matchup to watch. You can see Froggen actually learned oranges at level 2. Doesn't need the barrels. Again, they're not going to do much against Lulu, but does need the health to survive the matchup.
Yeah, Lulu should be able to push in the Gangplank fairly early. Gangplank really doesn't offer a whole lot of anything early on in laning phase, and Lulu is actually fairly oppressive against melees. If Froggen ever wants to walk close, Pirean will be able to outtrade. I believe he has gone Thunderlords as well, which creates an even more powerful Lulu trade.
Almost definitely. Basically every Lulu does that, so I would even check, and I'll assume it's true, chat. I got you in this one.
All right.
Keith and Mash doing a bit of damage back to each other. Thunderlords on Corki. Of course, the dual pen nature of the precision mastery makes Corki want to get that one all the time.
For sure. And speaking of the story we had in Champ Select here, Freak, about Echo Fox wanting to play this long, extended laning phase. Like in an ideal world for Echo Fox, all the other turrets are up until 25 minutes, and then they start grouping up. It's going to be much harder since they've given up that first blood.
Absolutely true. So Fervor of Battle, Kayle is the pickup there. I'm always curious to see which one it is. But that will be the attack speed focused mastery for him. And of course, you get 2 stacks on Fervor for landing a spell, and Kayle's E counts as that. Plus, landing auto attack onto a champion counts as 1 for being a ranged champion. So her first auto attack onto a champion gives her 3 stacks on Fervor of Battle. It's really actually quite easy to stack that one up.
Yep.
There's only a max of 8 stacks in the first place.
It just adds to the late game power.
Yeah.
Well, Ginsu's Rage Blade, Nashor's Tooth, onto the Kayle. It's pretty much enough to start dueling people, and then it only gets worse from there.
Definitely does. So scary things to watch out for. Echo Fox have 1.5 million damage to deal. The question is, will they have the time to do that? Hard just swept away a ward in the Tri-Brush, then pink warded the river. Feng should know that he's up here. Now comes the chance for a gank. Steadfast Presence will be put up now, and Hard walking onto melee range means he gets to land the body slam because he barely even moves casting it.
Clever little gank there by Hard, but at the same time, Feng didn't have to use any summoner spells. Yeah. The lane has been shoving up. KFO is going to probably just finish shoving this one into the turret, and he has even pink ward coverage in the river, so despite using his flash early, despite dying early, it didn't actually lead to an immediate item advantage since Feng just got the assist, and KFO has been able to lane. As planned, his flash almost back up, no Elise gank has come.
Yeah, didn't have the TP to get back down there as well, and of course there's still the rule where super early in the game assist pools are halved, so only 25 gold went to each player who didn't get the first blood itself. 25 gold, you can't do anything with that early game, and yeah, that means almost nothing. It's just the fact that Corki, this Mash, got to start with a longsword and an extra potion. Maybe Mash does something with that right now. He has a slight lead in the bot lane thanks to his earlier start in items. And we can keep watching that matchup play out. Impulse should be up 500 gold due to the first blood, but they're up a little bit more than that thanks to some slight laning prowess here.
Yeah, but Froggen only down 1 CS in the mid lane, KFO up 6 despite being down flash, and despite being down a first blood and a longsword in lane, Keith and Big are close to even. The laning phase has been pretty good for Echo Fox, considering they just want this game to go late. Yeah,
absolutely the case. So we'll see then if this can be upset then by Procxin's Elise from the jungle. So far, these lanes are happy just to trade equally, and so far that's been the case. The Cannon Minions are killed off by the supports with Targon's Brace, or the Relic Shield, I should say. But look at this Hard coming around the wings, flash, and the combo onto Feng. Ulti used as well by the Gangplank, and they're really diving in, but Hard continue to hold aggro. Kayle ulti times out! Gets an execute, thankfully for them, but still not something he wanted to give away. XP went over to Procxin for this one, and now chasing onto KFO. Auto attack, there's the flash. Cocoon was never even used. You just expect the KFO at some point to dodge it.
Yeah, that was a very aggressive gank by Hard right there. They didn't have actual vision on Procxin, and they thought they'd be able to get the clean gank down onto Feng. Poppy gets a lot of extra bonus armor and magic resistance when she is below 40% health, and they just didn't have the damage to take him out of the turret. KFO will be scaling to that point later, but I did not expect that early of a dive from the Gragas Kayle.
Yeah.
They're lucky to get out without giving up a kill, even though Hard did fall. They have the big minion wave, they get the stun, on top of a Gangplank ultimate, but Feng is able to dodge damage, actually has the balls to go back in.
Yeah.
Procxin did blow his Cocoon right there. No one had done damage too hard, so by the time the Kayle ultimate timed out, slightly unfortunate, it'll set him back a little bit in experience, but ultimately not a huge cost.
There was some mistiming as well. I think KFO only got 3 attacks off on while the Righteous Glory, the E, was still on. And so, like, really not that many empowered auto attacks came off. After the flash, he was no longer in range to do any damage, being a melee champion again. So, yeah, unfortunate there. Execute did get some XP over. No actual kill gold changing hands. And we continue on to the later part of the laning phase here. 3.5 minutes in. Echo Fox, certainly off this roster, have looked like the favorite. You can see the fan vote. 3-1 odds. It sounds honestly about right based on the trajectories of these two teams. But still a close game. Certainly winnable by both sides.
Absolutely right. Spectra's Cal, the early build on Feng. A lot of Poppies like to start with the Bomby Cinder. A lot of times it's Sunfire, Cape Iceborne Gauntlet. You just can't do that build against Kayle.
No.
Such heavy shredding magic damage, so it'll be still very difficult for Feng to stay in this extended laning phase. We talked about the mismatch of a melee versus ranged in the mid lane between Froggen and Pirean, but Feng and KFO, we got the same thing in the top lane, so it balances itself out.
So look at that, 53 to 63 CS in the top lane, 65 to 74 in the mid. Those advantages are roughly trading equally here. The only major difference being that Gangplank gets free gold by being Gangplank, plus having the Bandit Mastery, and parlaying the face is worth 10 gold. So Froggen's a bit rich here. Actually, I should take that back. I misspoke. It's actually both solo laners of Echo Fox actually ahead in CS. I read that wrong. So really got to say, for a laning phase that Impulse needed to win, gotta feel pretty good for Echo Fox here.
Froggen has had insane numbers since he's come back, and he's always been a very lane-dominant player. The way he would take over games in the past is he just wins laning phase or waits until he hits the right power spike, then just gets deep wards and continues to pressure mid. It's not so much towards roaming and impacting the other lanes, but it's more about just trapping the enemy team so they can't get out of the laning phase. And Froggen just continues to dominate and extend his lead. And he's going to try and do that with Gangplank, even though he shouldn't be able to yet with the corruption potion in the machine. It should actually be much later where he can start getting some large barrel poke on a Pirean, but he's just last hitting better, and he's not taking that much poke from Lulu.
And I do want to say, it's not like Pirean's a bad player. I've talked to a few LCS mid laners about the Impulse roster, and they say, no, Pirean's definitely one of the better players here. He's someone you have to respect, but so far, Froggen's still just doing better than this man. And I gotta say, massive props to Froggen for continuing to excel on another new champion. The Gangplank coming out doing quite well for him, and this actually is doesn't quite have the damage skill Raptors, but I'm pretty sure this has got to be Froggen's first professional Gangplank game, because Gangplank wasn't in this state before Worlds last year.
Yeah, I can guarantee you that it's his first professional Gangplank game since the rework.
Yeah.
He's played hundreds of competitive games, so I'm not willing to say with certainty that he's never playing Gangplank.
That champion named Gangplank at some point.
Because this is a dude that played Lucian and Jarvan mid back in 2012, so he played a lot of stuff.
That's a fair point, chat.
Yeah, even so, Froggen has been doing very good work on Gangplank, and his CS will extend very heavily once he can actually get the 3 small Raptors with the barrel as well.
And now we'll see how it can continue. As Feng just struggling to deal with KFO in any meaningful way. Dot, jumps forward, puts on Steadfast Presence, auto-attacks twice, and KFO walks backwards and hits him harder back. So just really no headway being made here. The bot lane at least sort of trading back and forth. You're seeing them hitting each other. Of course, there is some sustain on all these champions, and that temporary 5-minion lead that Mash has will be turned around by the fact that there's still minions to kill.
Yeah, we almost saw junglers running into each other here. Procxin does have a level advantage onto hard, but he's basically just defending against the dive. Strategically speaking, Freak, I'm a little disappointed that Team Impulse didn't force a lane swap, especially with Poppy versus Kayle and Poppy's ability to turret dive and such early on. Because Echo Fox, they want the extended laning phase.
Yeah. And
they're kind of being given it by Team Impulse here.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Procxin just has not found a way to do anything to these lanes. Just nothing's happening right now. They're not getting in on anything. Again, the flash that KFO lost early game, unpunished. Meanwhile, speaking of punishing, chunks him down to half HP. Now, actually, they get some damage onto hard. Gragas forced to run away. Is actually going the Cinder Hulk route, I believe, on this champion. So
yeah.
We see him go back and forth, but no Runic Echoes this time around. Hard did the same thing on Elise last game, so it seems that he is sort of happy to take up the role of, when given the chance, I will just be a tank.
Absolutely, and especially in this composition, I think it's smart because KFO, Froggen, and Keith are going to be getting so much damage in the late game. Hard only needs to give them time to do so. Team Impulse does make the rotation over to the Dragon as Froggen was pushed back to his turret and Procxin had kind of gotten control of Hard. That's the types of moves that Team Impulse need to be making in this early laning phase if they want to start building up an advantage.
Okay, well, that's good for them. Echo Fox yesterday played a 55-minute game. I said, actually, on the desk that, oh, we won't have a 5 Dragons this game. Echo Fox already winning by too much. But hey, it's never too late to start 5 Dragons. You never know. You might have one of these long games, and so we'll see if that stacking starts battering here for Impulse. Their gold lead has now entirely vanished. That 500 gold they got from the first blood and assists is now gone, and it's just been earned off by laning phase prowess and Gangplank passive gold here from Echo Fox. The teams are in some ways tied. Big and Keith trying to hold a freeze right here because Mash needed to recall back and finish another item, and Echo Fox just wanting to keep this wave stuck here to deny more minions and grow a gold lead.
Yep, Froggen can't quite clear the back wave of that. He's losing his turret a little bit. If that turret goes down, then the early game stall becomes much more difficult for Echo Fox. So getting that blue buff is very critical for Froggen, and he doesn't quite have enough attack damage to clear the back wave of minions yet. So this is a window where I want to see Elise come mid and push down with those minions, because if they have 2 people auto-attacking the turret, they could take it down. But Procxin's channeling recall right now. Hard is here because he knows what's up. He needs to be there for a counter.
And he's just waiting in the wings on a pink ward. They can't know he's here unless they saw him come through, which I didn't actually spot his path. I didn't know if that happened. Procxin almost surprised by the fact that blue buff came up. Again, he saw him. He was starting to recall and then says, oh, okay, blue buff. No, I'll come back and give this one over to you. Mid lane turret basically at full health. And I mean, it's weird because it's not even miscommunication. Both Procxin and Pirean are Korean players. They can talk to each other fluently. And that call has not come over to come and stop that. Another ward over the wall thanks to the efforts of both Hard and Big, and they've made sure that no one's waiting over the wall. They can knock into Pirean pretty soon. Right now that does not happen.
Yeah, there's just... We're not seeing the focus from Team Impulse as Fox goes in and catches Gate.
Knock up comes through. Gate taking plenty of damage. Knocked back around. Ulti comes across. Doesn't hit anyone, but does buy a little bit of time. Big forced to run away Hard. Right behind him as well. Keith coming in from the side. A nice tackle in from Feng, putting some damage into the ulti to Alistar. Now Procxin in the front, and Corki comes in. They want this one. They force the flash over the wall. Big forced to run, but that means Procxin is now overextended. Keith gets the first kill of the game for his team. Hard takes a Kayle ulti, refuses to go down, is still alive. Finally, Mash with the Triforce takes him down, but still a second kill for Echo Fox. This one going over to Froggen, and a battle that Echo Fox win.
Yeah, and actually a fairly strange fight because Feng channeled his teleport about 5 seconds before KFO decided to come down and join the fray. It looked like he wanted to finish the minion wave. I thought they were just going to try and disengage and let KFO take the turret, because that's kind of what Kayle wants a lot of time, is just free time on the turret. But he teleports down late, and even with that, Echo Fox win the fight 2-for-1.
Very impressive stuff there. Just even buying time with the Kayle ulti. Hard was still going to die, but keeping people locked in place. They got the damage down to the targets that they needed, and look at that. They will get mid-turret for that one instead, so hey. 2-1, a turret in the aftermath, and now they can recall and be healthy.
Yeah, Nash's Tooth completed on Kayle. Still enough, he got free time on the mid-turret, just not top lane. Look at the start of this fight again. Gate was down in a zone where he had no pink ward control, and Procxin wasn't close enough to back him up. He also completely whiffs his Braum ultimate, which does not synchronize well with this TP. Team Impulse have to burn so much just to get into this fight. And then, I'm just looking for KFO at this point, because a lot of Tip is trapped in there. KFO was on the backside. Poppy ultimate did knock one person away, but KFO is pretty much just able to free hit for a lot of this fight, burns the Lulu ultimate, and continues to split the Team Impulse team into multiple sides, which is great for Echo Fox because they have more overall damage. The damage from Team Impulse is very low when you consider Elise, Poppy, Lulu, and not even a champion for Lulu to empower greatly.
Yeah.
So like, we're talking how Echo Fox has great late game scaling. That is made even worse by the fact that Team Impulse have terrible late game scaling.
They not only have terrible late game scaling, but the builds are like weirdly desynced, because to their credit, Mash power spiked off Triforce, like literally just then. Before that fight, he had recalled to buy that item, so he's big, he's got to feel happy. But Pirean went over for Frostbeam's claim. He went for a partially scaling item, but like a map control item to get these ghosts out, instead of something like a Lich Bane or Luden Zekka that has some early game burst. So just, didn't have kind of the damage you would want. He's going for the Lich Bane second now, so, items are starting to come in now for Pirean, but yeah, did not have the damage there to make that fight work. Now we see Impulse right back into the bottom lane, and it's still Triforce Corki that demands respect from Echo Fox, and they back off the turret. They're going to take Rift Herald for that, and down it goes. The bot lane Adder should die.
Hard on the other side of the map, so it is credit to Procxin for moving up here. But at the same time, I think this is just an extended turret trade. Rift Heralded Nashor's Tooth Kayle is going to kill the turret.
I imagine so.
Against the incredibly low wave clear of a Poppy who's not even in the lane.
Yeah, doesn't even have teleport, has to walk all the way up there. This turret down to 1/4, absolutely it's going to die. Echo Fox securing that the resources were there for the top side. Down it goes, empowered minions, bonus damage, all that's wonderful. And heck, Kayle even really loves movement speed. So just lots of good things to care about. In tracking the build, also Berserker's Greaves on Kayle was the choice. It's always curious seeing exactly how much cooldown reduction that champion gets, because you need about 34% to keep Righteous Fury on at all times. And he's sitting on
cooldown per level blues a lot of times.
Yeah, he's at 33.35, and he gets 20 from items.
That'll do it. A couple more levels, and he's got 100% uptime on Righteous Fury. It is currently at a 10.66 second cooldown. Lasts for 10 seconds. So he's got this.
Yep.
No more of those. Someone dives under the turret, Righteous Fury runs out. full-time range champion for KFO now.
I actually have a actually, there's a dragon coming. I'll do it later. But there's a dragon being attacked right now for Echo Fox. Spooky Ghosts come across. Those are from Pirean here in the mid lane. But who will even challenge this one? No teleports are up for either top laner. Gangplank on the top side does have globals. And there's a push in towards Dragon, picked up. There's the hard engage. Big starts it off, and he's tanky. The first kill comes through. It's already a kill off in the gate. A second one at a Pirean. The hammer comes down from Feng, sending someone away, but it doesn't even matter. This fight is long gone. Impulse kind of half contest a Dragon, lose 2 kills anyway, and walk out.
Yeah, it's only 2,000 gold here, Freak, but I think this game could quickly turn into a rout if Echo Fox plays their cards right. That was a slow follow-up by Echo Fox because Hard was finishing the Dragon as Big made the initiation, but they still destroy them. No ultimate, though, on Big, so Procxin does push them temporarily off this turret. But, man, Echo Fox is getting farmed.
They are getting huge. The fact that they're winning off of 3 champions that will outscale their counterparts. Heck, even the Gragas outscales Elise. Like, only Alistar and Braum is debatable here in this one in terms of champions that are better at 55 minutes. So Echo Fox just in a wonderful place now in this game. Continue to scale up. Froggen finally pushed off Corki. Doesn't seem to care. Gangplank 2-0-2's got to feel good.
Well, they're going to go for a package gank, but he misses, and now he's got to watch out. He's got a face full of Kayle.
Oh, he's got a lot of damage. He comes in, though, and the Summoner Heal buys enough time that Procxin can come in to secure. So, hey, that aggression finally pays off here. Impulse get their first kill in a while. Top lane outer. Mash doesn't want to stay. He's under too much threat with low health bars. And Procxin... Okay, now Mash comes around. So, again, a conflicted call where Impulse kind of did the wrong thing and then finally decide to do the right thing. At least they will get the turret.
Right. I do like the idea of Mash using the package aggressively, especially on KFO. They need to be able to make those aggressive plays. Procxin would have been nice if he was a little bit closer so they didn't have to burn the Summoner Heal. But, that, I mean, they still get a kill and a turret in cost of pretty much nothing. So, huge success right there. Still going to have those late-game issues because they're 20 minutes in and they're facing a gold deficit.
So we'll see if Impulse can pick up anything more here. Froggen trading back and forth with Feng, who does have a Sunfire Cape to his credit, so can survive some of Froggen's damage. But look at that, the rest of Echo Fox already coming down. Froggen got the wave pushed. Keith walked over, said, all right, you got this one. I'll go somewhere else here. And Froggen will continue to farm with these barrels, knocking these minions down. Looks like he's ready for his next upgrade to his ultimate. Earning plenty of money with Silver Serpents.
Oh my god, Froggen has so much gold. He has 9,800 gold 20 minutes into the game.
He is massive in this one. Well over 10 CS per minute. Typical Froggen. Looks like that part of his gameplay never left. And he continues to play different styles of champions, excelling, being the primary carry on this team that is still looking to go up the standings. I mean, this could be the 4th win in a row for Echo Fox. Longest winning streak for any team not named Immortals.
Yeah, super impressive. They haven't taken out the top teams. That'll happen next
top
week for them when they play some really tough teams.
TSM and Immortals.
Yeah, that's going to be a tricky schedule for them. Yes. Although TSM just had an 0-2 week.
Yeah.
So Echo Fox maybe striking at the right time. If they can close this one out too, it's only a 2,000 gold advantage. But we talk about Froggen as well, playing all the way since the game was made, basically.
Yeah.
But he's played in all metas, but the metas where he's been most successful are when you had long laning phases, people weren't lane swapping, and he only had to worry about the dude he was against and the jungler.
Yeah.
And guess what type of game Team Impulse is playing right now?
That.
They're letting Froggen do what he's been most successful with throughout his career, which I don't think you should do against Froggen because, like, he can obviously play the other ones, but this is clearly where he's the strongest. And now he's reached the itemization point where the wave is just gone.
There it is.
He gets a whole bunch of extra gold for it.
Yep. 48 gold per wave from Parlay. Gotta feel good. Froggen just keep dancing back and forth, playing Gangplank and feeling happy. So, my Did You Know was about Kayle.
Okay.
Did
you know that you said I wouldn't hear a Did You Know the next day because I wouldn't be casting with you?
Yeah, I was wrong.
And you were wrong.
I was wrong. You are, in fact, casting with me, Jat. And I'm glad because it was setting myself up for a pleasant surprise that you were still next to me. So thank you for making this effort.
All right.
But, okay, so, like, 3 years ago, there's a minor rework to Kayle, and we changed the E cooldown so that you could actually have it up 100% of the time. And the way it was coded, it was never intended that could happen. And so I was the first playtester to have 35 CDR on Kayle, and I said, oh, hey, if you reactivate Kayle E while Kayle E is still on, the on-hit damage goes away. You keep the range, you no longer keep the other buff. And then I was like, oh, whoops, and change it for the next day. But there was a time that no one ever else got to do where that was busted.
I mean, all right.
It's a really weak Did You Know, but you talked about it and I was reminded of it.
Yeah, it's just, did you know this thing that never made it to live happened and I got to do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got to play a really weak version of Kayle.
Just
it wasn't good.
I'll give you that one.
Okay, thanks. Did you also know that since Echo Fox had all those issues with their roster, and they had a lot of Ember players on it, during the first week of Challenger, Big played against Ember, subbing for Apex, and 2-0'd them.
That's just crazy.
Yeah. He played against and then with them like the next week. Huh. All right, so we are in this match, of course, and it's Echo Fox holding on to this 3,000 gold lead. And it's a match where they get to just be passive, right? They don't have to really push this because of the late game scaling, and if Echo Fox can play their way, you don't need to see a lot of kills. You can just see them buying items time and time again.
Yep. The game still could have a lot of volatility as well, though. Like, if Procxin lands the right cocoon onto KFO and there's a fight where Kayle does absolutely no damage and Froggen doesn't have good barrel placement, those are two really squishy high damage champions, even though they have immense late game scaling. So playing just super late game doesn't come without risks entirely, especially with how long death timers can get, around 35 minutes now. Yeah. There's still a way that Echo Fox throws this away, but the control up to this point, I think, is pretty much as planned. They even gave up first blood, and they just kind of steamrolled right through that by still having dominant laning phase.
And dominant they have been here. Just checking teams off the list of ones they've knocked down. Everyone around them in the standings so far has fallen to Echo Fox in this back half of the split. And as they walk forward towards their second Dragon of the game, they got the previous one, and Impulse just kind of sat by and watched. We'll see what they do this time around. Dragon has started in full view of a ward, and it's time for Impulse to make a choice here. KFO will need to teleport into this if there is a real fight. Feng is not showing up either. He's still recalling on the top side, so no TP's pulled. Mash goes for Rocket, doesn't get it. And Impulse sat there in the mid lane doing not much while the Dragon went down. Now they've walked back to clear the wave, but Echo Fox will be there to defend.
Yep, that's always an unfortunate time waster when you think about contesting Dragon and also don't push mid. You either contest Dragon or you push them in turret. You try and create a trade of some kind or a team fight, but they weren't confident in their team fight, so you have to question why they're at the Dragon pit at all. Then you also have to be like, well, if they weren't confident in the team fight, why didn't they just push mid? It means they're indecisive, and they actually don't really have a direction in this game.
And that's unfortunate here for Impulse because the direction this season has been downwards for the last couple of weeks, and that's not one you really want here. Echo Fox continuing to press aggressively hard. Wanted to set up a bait in the jungle, but guess what? Spooky go see this rotation down to the bot lane. But the question is, seeing it or not, can you even stop it here? 3 members already right there. Zrot portal set in the bottom lane, but the minions actually die before they can reach the turret, so it's an entirely useless other than getting the wave to be pushed. And the wave getting pushed, well, Impulse showed up in time.
Well, it's off cooldown. Hard can reposition it whenever he wants.
All right.
Here. As Kobe mentioned on the analyst desk, the Zrot portal aside, it doesn't need to be pushing the turrets sometimes. It just acts as a cork in the lane. So even if they don't have anyone down there, it's very hard for minions to push past it. KFO, though, caught again.
Wow, another great dive by the Corki, running back and forth. KFO pops the ulti, goes in for the fight, and he's just a few hits away from killing Mash and gets it. And in a nearly 1v2, a bit of help from Froggen. Now back in towards Feng. Nice knockout comes through. Lulu buys a bit of time, but a great knockback by the Gragas of Hard. Gets another kill, Echo Fox, and another 2 for 0.
26 minutes? Are we late game yet? I feel like we're pretty close. KFO has the items required to call it late game. Nashor's Tooth, Gunsu's Rageblade, and the QSS to make it so
just
that he can get rid of that CC. They turn straight for Baron, which actually could be a little risky. Pirean, Gate, and Procxin still up, looking to contest.
The jungler is alive. Big does not have the ulti. Gate comes in, a nice knockup comes through, but right there, the burst comes through. Gate chunked low, the Elise in the rafters, flashed over the Baron pit, culling, tickles him at the very end of his thorax, and down goes the kill. And there is Baron Nashor picked up. Congratulations. KFO gets the last hit because why not give it to Kayle? 8-3 on the scoreboard. Echo Fox up 6,000.
Yeah, and it was the first kill of the game for Kayle, but it was the 249th minion kill when he last hit Baron, and that's all that matters because he got the gold that was necessary. Froggen landed some nice barrel chains. Big reinitiated out of the Baron pit when there was really not much damage that could actually follow up Braum, Elise, and Lulu. So not a huge threat coming through. Goes right through the Braum ultimate. Really clutch timing there. If he tries to headbutt a little bit later, the Braum ultimate might actually knock him up and cancel the headbutt. And then didn't even look like the culling hit him. Maybe it was a dot of some kind, but it did.
Yeah, it hit him. I think the elevation change from being in Baron Pit to in the jungle made it look, I think, different from where they actually were. Skill shots don't exactly glom to geometry very well, but it certainly was the kill. Nice Kulin comes out in the fog of war. Red buff goes over to Mash, so at least Impulse have been able to hold their side of the jungle. It just doesn't mean all that much overall. I mean, Echo Fox are just continuing to just take everything away. Impulse just have not found any good fights.
Yeah, and at this point they're dealing with some very, very fed damage dealers, and they just do not have the tanking capability to deal with it right now. Echo Fox can just kind of sit back and kill him. It's it's potentially going to be a 4-game winning streak here for Echo Fox. Renegades, Energy, Liquid, and Impulse. So they have had an easier schedule, but Energy and Liquid are no slouches. Impulse still sitting at 4 wins. They're winning the games they have to win to move into close to playoff contention. This will be their 5th win.
Yeah. And again, if Liquid does in fact lose to Immortals, which is of course a likely outcome, Echo Fox are tied for 6th and are 1-1 against Liquid on the season. Like, that is literally basically in playoff contention at that point right there for Echo Fox. So this season is looking pretty good for them here. Warmog's picked up 3rd item for Hard, which is a lot of health and actually makes his Void Spawns do about 500 bonus damage to the ones that get that buff. So some very scary pushing tools are available. Echo Fox a little bit short range as a squad, but they're still making the way forward. This Baron buffed cannon just slowly whittling down on this turret. Finally poked down by Pirean. Feng tries to wave for a bit, but here comes the barrel chain. There's the GP ulti. Fair bit of damage dealt. The turret's already gone, and now Feng in the front line just cannot survive this kind of damage. Goes down to KFO, and the push continues. The inhibitor is going to be gone at 29:05, and Echo Fox can walk away with another team fight victory and another objective gain.
Yep, they are just steamrolling over Tip right now. The team composition has turned on about 10 minutes ago, and we're just seeing the results of Echo Fox knowing how strong they are. They pop down another portal right next to the turret. They still have the Baron empowered minions, and they're just going to try and roll down for another inhibitor.
And this might just happen here. 2 turrets down means they have that slight extra, sorry, 2 Dragons down means they have an extra little bit of turret damage on top of all the gold they've got right now with that Baron buff just now timing out. Top lane under fire. Gate taking some plenty of damage, puts the shield up, runs away. Culling zones the team out, and now 2nd inhibitor laid open. Easily take down, only 40 seconds after the first one. And man, so much of a lead here. Oh, nice. Inhibitor kill credit went to a Void Spawn.
Woo! Haven't seen that icon in the LCS before.
Me either.
So, awesome. Also want to point out, Hard, because of his strength of Aegis Mastery and Cinderhulk, has crested the 3,000 health mark to actually make Warmogs give him the massive regen.
Oh, yeah.
So, credit to him for some creative building there.
He gets over 100 health per second out of combat. If he disengages, he just back up the full. So, very interesting health stacking build for Gragas, and hey, it's working, so can't really complain too much here. Bot lane, the next obvious target, and conveniently it lines up right with this dragon respawning. Why not get number 3? They know it's up in 6 seconds, and then just mosey right on down to another inhibitor kill.
Yeah, Hurricane completed for KFO. I think we're seeing the reason for that Kayle ban that we saw yesterday. Also, if any other teams don't want to ban Kayle and let KFO play it, please lane swap it. Do not give him his comfortable solo queue strategy. KFO is a player that comes out of Korean solo queue.
Yeah.
And this is his first split in competitive play. Lane swapping is incredibly complex. Do not put him in his comfort zone on a carry champion, please. Yep. But when he is in his comfort zone, we're seeing all that solo queue talent shine through on screen.
And he's absolutely crushing Feng. He's crushing this game right here. 2-2-5, not a bad scoreline at all. 7 out of 9 kills. They're going to push right forward there. Hurricane Kayle doing 1.5 million damage. I want to see these damage charts because it's a race among those 3 players who actually does more in this one. Turret's going to go down. You don't even want to contest that. Wow, actually gets a 3rd barrel off just barely. Pirean chunked to half. Froggen barely got that barrel out.
Really good barrel mechanics from Froggen throughout the game. Well-placed ultimates, good positioning for no deaths, and a very strong laning phase. Last ditch effort.
Wow, a stun does come through. Feng got some decent damage, but in the package coming through as well. But Keith just turns around and fires backwards to get the Corki gone. But meanwhile, the front line has already evaporated. Another death for Feng. The chase in towards Kayle, who flashes, jumps to his teammate, and look at the knockback. The Elise runs away as far as she can, but it's not far enough to get away from Gangplank. Squashes the spider. KFO onto the turret, says, I will happily grab that kill. That's the word I was looking for. Can't quite kill off Gate, though. Still holding on to that intervention. KFO pretty much immune to death in this last half of the fight.
Yeah, that's the 3rd inhibitor, and as you said, still has the ultimate up if Team Impulse wants to get fire back. Keith flashes for fun. I think this is the game, Freak.
I think this is the game after all. 32 minutes in, all the fantasy points you could want here for this one. Echo Fox making quick work of every team in front of them. Nexus goes down. Well played. 4 in a row to Echo Fox.